You're watching Beyond 100 Days. I'm Nifemi Oguntoye. The Minister of Labour and Employment, Simon Lalong, has continued his meetings with the Labour Union to stop the looming strike aftermath the removal of petrol subsidy. There was another closed-door meeting today between the federal government and the leadership of the Trade Union Congress, and this is coming barely 24 hours after a similar interface with the Nigeria Labour Congress. In their opening remarks, both parties pledged commitment to reaching an amicable resolution of issues in dispute. In the aftermath of petrol subsidy removal, organized labor is challenging the federal government to engage in meaningful and impactful negotiations in the overall interest of the people. At the end of today's meeting, TUC says negotiation will continue till the end of the week.
For us and left for us, we are addressing the issues to the best of our ability. That the issue of Ratian, is one of the issues that we have been pushing forward, and that by the end of this week, if there is no resolution on that subject, that we are going to picket and commence a total shutdown of Lagos State government, effective next week.
Joke Adisa was at that meeting. She joins me now live from Abuja. The meeting between government and the NLC, Joke, to avert an imminent strike ended on Monday without a concrete resolution. How did this one go today?
Well, Nifemi, you agree with me that in recent time we have seen some kind of rivalry between the TUC and the NLC. Particularly when it comes to labor national issues and work issues affecting their members. But this time we saw, yesterday we saw the NLC team come before the ministers. Today it was the turn of the TUC. And after about an hour plus, they came out. There was no opening session like it used to happen. And so, but one thing that came out from the TUC's interview with pressmen was that they are still satisfied with with the way government is going about meeting their demands. But he also alluded to the fact that their patience was gradually running out, but that they will wait, and that in line with what they have been able to discuss with the ministers, they have had that assurance that once Mr. President returns, they will be able to have some other concrete issues where they will nail all issues and arrive at a lasting solution. So they expressed that hope, the TUC expressed that hope, and what that means is that they are waiting the arrival of the return of Mr. President from his trip, and that once that is done and once he returns, they will be able to sit on the round table. You recall also that one thing that is common to the NLC and the TUC is the need for the government to engage them, to engage both labor centers and ensure that workers' voices are amplified in view of the challenge, the economic crisis thrown up by the removal of fuel subsidy.
Interestingly, Joke, TUC didn't go on strike when NLC did earlier. And from what you've said, we've seen quite a difference in TUC's stance and its body language from that of the NLC. What do you think is responsible for this?
Well, like I said, there have been some kind of rivalry between both organizations, and NLC president alluded to that yesterday, which was Monday after the meeting, when a question was thrown at him, and he said, in any event, particularly international events, that is only NLC that is recognized. NLC has never hidden its disdain for the creation of TUC. So both parties have had to manage each other over the time. And so I'm sure that was what explained. Both parties now have different approaches to resolving the issues on ground. They have different approaches to achieving their goals. Of course, their demands are similar, they are the same, but their approaches are different. And so that explains what we have seen. Because many Nigerians had expected that the last two-day warning strike would have been a product of both labor centers, but we saw the TUC opt out at the very last meeting that it was not yet time for such an action. So I'm sure in days ahead, but one thing that is also clear is that from the meeting, now we saw what happened yesterday. Even from the body language of the NLC, it was not particularly interested in attending that meeting. If you recall, there was a meeting that was called on the 4th before the two-day warning strike. NLC did not attend, and from what the president said, it was a deliberate decision not to attend that meeting, basically because they had issued the notice and that the federal government waited for just a few hours to the commencement of the warning strike before calling them for a meeting.
Quickly, because of
time.
That
is what.
Do we know, if you can hear me, do we know precisely what the federal government is doing differently, apart from just making promises? For instance, has anything concrete been done in setting up a tripartite committee for the review of minimum wage and every other promise it's made to organized labor since the assumption of this administration?
Yes, if we go by what the NLC president said yesterday, they have not gone far as negotiations are concerned. But even the TUC president said that much, and that was why he said their patience was fast running out. But from the briefing, because journalists were not allowed to stay at the meeting, but he came out to brief the press that the minister was able to brief them on steps that have been taken. He did not mention the fact that a tripartite committee has been established for the minimum wage, far from it. But what he did say is that most of the demands are being worked upon, and that once Mr. President returns, they will be able to finalize issues. That is where TUC said they were. And since they were briefed by the ministers, we were not there. The pressmen were not allowed to stay there. But from what he said, they're satisfied. But like I also said earlier, he said they want the government to fast track whatever negotiations they are having, so that the earlier they have prompt resolutions, quick resolutions that Nigerians can lay their hands upon. They want something concrete, something fundamental to be able to take back to their members, so that at the end of it all, to be a win-win situation.
National Assembly correspondent Joke Adisa live for us in our Abuja studio. Good to see you, Joke. Well, that's our show today. You can watch a repeat broadcast at midnight and at 6 a.m. tomorrow. On behalf of everyone here, thank you for watching. I am Nifemi Oguntoye.